All right, so you guys sent in some pretty interesting stuff about this Kash Patel guy.
Yep.
And we're ready to dive in. We've got, let's see. We've
Uh-oh.
got his Wikipedia page, bunch of news articles, even a couple Reddit threads.
Nice.
Some conservative, some liberal, really running the gamut here.
The whole spectrum.
Really sparked our curiosity about this guy.
Yeah, no surprise. He's generating a lot of buzz.
Right.
Maybe a bit of apprehension, too. His potential role in a second Trump administration,
Right.
especially as FBI director.
Yeah.
It's really stirred up some strong reactions.
So let's unpack this whole thing.
Okay, so this is good.
Who is Kash Patel? What's his story? What kind of lawyer was he?
Yeah.
And why is this nomination causing such a stir?
Well, let's start with the basics.
Okay.
Patel was born in 1980,
Okay.
raised in New York
Right.
by Indian immigrant parents,
Interesting.
raised Hindu, went to the University of Richmond,
Uh-huh.
even played ice hockey.
Wow, that's not your typical Washington insider.
Not exactly, no.
Makes you wonder how he ended up in the thick of it all.
Right. And his early career choices
Yeah.
don't exactly scream political operative either.
Okay.
After law school, Pace University, he spent 8 years as a public defender in Florida. That's a tough job, advocating for those who can't afford legal representation.
So maybe a hint of idealism there?
Perhaps.
A commitment to justice or something?
Could be.
Okay.
But then he kind of shifts gears, becomes a trial attorney for the DOJ's National Security Division.
Okay, yeah.
That's a whole different ball game.
Totally.
Handling international drug trafficking, terrorism,
Wow.
even bulk cash smuggling cases.
So this is where his legal background becomes pretty crucial
It is.
to understanding, the path he takes
Absolutely.
later on.
He's not just a political appointee.
Right.
He understands the law and how to use it.
Okay, so we've got a picture of this sharp legal mind, comfortable in these high-pressure situations.
For sure.
But then in 2017, he jumps headfirst into this political, whirlpool as an aide to Devin Nunes on the House Intelligence Committee.
Yeah.
Why would he leave the DOJ for that?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
This is right when investigations into Trump and Russian interference in the 2016 election are heating up.
Uh-huh.
And Patel quickly becomes a key player in pushing back against those investigations.
This is the part that has a lot of people talking, right?
Yes, exactly. It's a pivotal moment in Patel's trajectory.
Okay.
Remember that controversial Nunes memo?
Oh, yeah.
Alleging FBI misconduct during the Russia investigation?
Right.
Some reports even claim Patel was the primary author, although there's some debate around that.
Wait, hold on. Can we go back to that Nunes memo for a second?
Sure.
What exactly did it allege?
So it claimed that the FBI had abused its surveillance power
Yeah, okay.
by relying on the Steele dossier,
Okay.
which was opposition research funded by Democrats,
Yeah.
to obtain a warrant to spy on a former Trump campaign advisor.
Oh.
The memo argued that this was politically motivated and tainted the entire investigation.
So basically, it threw fuel on the fire.
Yeah.
For those who believe the FBI was unfairly targeting Trump.
Absolutely.
And regardless of who actually wrote it, Patel's association with the memo
Right.
really cemented his image as a Trump loyalist.
For sure.
It's like a theme that continues to define his career from this point on.
Absolutely. And it's interesting to note that even at this early stage,
Yeah.
there's a clear pattern emerging.
Okay.
Patel isn't just defending Trump.
Uh-huh.
He's going on the offensive.
Okay.
He's challenging institutions, questioning their motives,
Right.
pushing back against what he sees as a corrupt system.
Which brings us to his time in the Trump administration, right?
Exactly.
He held, a lot of positions in a very short amount of time?
It was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
He served at the National Security Council,
Right.
became senior director of counterterrorism at the NSC, then went on to the Office of the Director of National Intelligence.
It's almost like Trump was trying to find the perfect spot for him.
Interesting observation.
Yeah.
And throughout it all, Patel continued to attract controversy.
Right.
There were accusations of him acting as a back channel to Trump on Ukraine policy, sidelining official channels,
Oh, wow.
and even potentially playing a role in the events that led to Trump's first impeachment.
Right.
Patel, of course, denied these claims.
And then there was that defamation lawsuit
Oh, yes.
he filed against Politico,
Huge.
sued them for $25 million?
$25 million, yeah.
For an article that alleged he'd been planted at the ODNI by the White House to suppress information about Russia.
That lawsuit is really revealing.
It is, right.
Yeah.
What does that say about him?
Seeking $25 million is unusually aggressive
Yeah.
for a defamation case.
Right.
It suggests that Patel is very comfortable using the legal system as a tool of offense,
Right.
not just defense.
So it fits with that pattern we've seen.
Exactly.
This willingness to fight back hard against those he perceives as enemies.
Exactly.
Okay, it definitely adds another layer to understanding him.
It does.
This guy is not afraid of a fight.
Nope.
And he's not shy about using the courts to pursue his objectives.
That's right.
And let's not forget that almost appointment to lead the CIA.
Oh, right.
There were reports that Gina Haspel,
Yeah.
the CIA director at the time,
Right.
threatened to resign if Patel was installed as her deputy.
Yeah.
That speaks volumes
It really does.
about the tensions brewing,
Yeah.
even within the Trump administration.
Even inside, yeah.
Wow, so not everyone was on board with Patel, even there.
It's true.
What was it about him that sparked such strong reactions?
Well, that episode really highlights Patel's polarizing nature.
Okay.
Even among those who shared Trump's agenda, some saw Patel as too partisan,
Okay.
too willing to bend or even break the rules to achieve his goals.
Uh-huh.
They questioned his judgment
Yeah.
and whether he could be trusted to uphold the integrity of the intelligence community.
So he's become a bit of an enigma, hasn't he?
He has.
Fiercely loyal to Trump,
Yes.
unafraid of a fight,
Uh-huh.
and deeply suspicious of the so-called deep state.
Right. And for those unfamiliar,
Yeah, what is that?
deep state refers to this conspiracy theory.
Yep.
That there's a hidden network of bureaucrats within the government who are working to undermine elected officials
Right.
and manipulate policy from behind the scenes.
Oh, okay.
It's a belief that has gained traction
Yeah.
in certain circles, especially among those who distrust the government.
So going into a potential second Trump term,
Yeah.
Patel already has this, reputation.
Definitely.
He's seen as a Trump enforcer.
Right.
Willing to shake things up, challenge established institutions.
Exactly.
And that's the context for his recent nomination as FBI director,
Right.
which is what has everyone on edge.
Absolutely. Replacing Wray, the current FBI director,
Yeah.
with Patel would be a seismic shift for the Bureau. And it's a move that has divided public opinion right down the middle.
Yeah, I can see why.
Definitely a lot to unpack there.
For sure.
And it's not just, speculation that's got people talking.
Right.
Patel himself has been pretty vocal
Oh, yeah.
about his plans for the FBI.
Right. Not exactly shy about sharing his vision.
Yeah, and they're, well,
Let's just say they've raised some eyebrows.
to put it mildly.
He's talked about mass firings, targeting agents who investigated Trump,
Yeah.
and even, going after journalists who
Right.
publish leaks.
Remember that comment about turning FBI headquarters into a museum of the deep state?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Not exactly subtle.
No, it sounds like something out of a movie.
Right. It's a direct challenge
It is.
to the legitimacy of the institution itself.
This is real life, though. We're not talking about some, political thriller.
I know. It's the potential head of the FBI,
Right.
one of the most powerful law enforcement agencies in the world.
Yeah. Exactly. And it raises some serious concerns.
It does.
What does it mean for the morale of the FBI?
Right.
If their leader is openly hostile to its mission, its legacy?
Imagine being a career agent.
Yeah.
Dedicated to upholding the law.
Right.
And your new boss is talking about, dismantling the whole thing.
It's wild.
It really is.
And it's hard to separate Patel's vision from his own experiences.
Yes.
His time on the House Intelligence Committee, his battles with the FBI over the Russia investigation,
Yeah.
his belief in this, deep state working against Trump.
Right. He lays it all out in his book, Government Gangsters.
Oh, yeah. Have you read that?
I have. It's a fascinating read.
Okay.
A little alarming, maybe.
Yeah.
But essentially, it's like his manifesto,
Uh-huh.
how he sees the world.
Right.
It's his battle between patriots and a corrupt establishment.
Okay.
And in Patel's view, the FBI is a key part of that corrupt
No,
establishment.
makes sense.
He argues that it's been weaponized against political opponents,
Okay.
that it's riddled with bias,
Uh-huh.
and that it needs to be, fundamentally reformed, maybe even dismantled.
Wow.
Yeah,
So his experiences have definitely shaped his worldview
they have.
and, by extension, his vision for the FBI.
Absolutely.
But does he actually offer any concrete ideas for reform?
He does propose some specific changes
Like what?
restructuring the agency to focus more on counterterrorism,
Okay.
less on white-collar crime.
Okay, so shifting priorities.
Yeah. He also advocates for increased transparency
Okay.
and accountability, which, sounds good in principle.
Yeah, all right, in theory.
But his critics argue that these proposals are just a smokescreen
Oh, what?
for a more sinister agenda.
What would that be?
They fear he'd use his position to target Trump's perceived enemies,
Right.
to stifle dissent, and ultimately to undermine the rule of law.
And it's not just about going after political rivals.
No, he's also made some concerning statements about going after journalists, even suggesting changes to libel laws
Wow.
to make it easier to sue them for publishing critical stories.
That's a huge EGE red flag.
It is.
For freedom of the press.
Absolutely.
He's basically saying anyone who criticizes him or Trump could face legal repercussions.
It's a chilling thought.
It is.
Really raises a fundamental question, doesn't it?
What's that?
What happens to the rule of law
Yeah.
when the FBI director sees himself as above the law?
Right.
When he believes he can use the power of the agency to silence critics?
To advance a partisan agenda.
Exactly.
This is serious stuff.
It is.
And, we need to connect this back to our listeners.
Yeah, good point.
Why should they care about all of this?
Right.
How could Patel potentially impact the lives of everyday Americans?
Well, the FBI doesn't just investigate presidents and politicians.
Right.
They investigate a wide range of crimes that impact everyone.
Terrorism, organized crime.
Exactly.
White-collar fraud, cyber attacks.
The list goes on. They're the ones who might show up at your door
Right.
if you're caught up in a federal investigation. They gather evidence, build cases, and ultimately bring criminals to justice.
So if the FBI is politicized, if its priorities are driven by a political agenda instead of a commitment to justice,
Right.
it undermines the whole system.
It does. It affects everyone.
And it's not just a theoretical concern.
No, it's not.
We've seen how Patel has operated in previous roles.
We have.
Pushing back against investigations, obstructing the transition of power,
Yeah.
making accusations without evidence.
Right. So if he's given even more power,
Right.
if he's in charge of the FBI, what will he do?
Will he use the Bureau for political retribution?
It's a disturbing thought.
It is. It's like we're standing at a crossroads. The path we choose now,
Yeah.
the decisions we make.
It'll have a lasting impact on the future of American democracy. I agree. It's more important than ever for people to be informed.
To understand what's at stake.
Exactly.
And to make their voices heard.
This nomination isn't just about one man.
Right.
It's about the future of the FBI.
And the rule of law in America.
Exactly.
So much to consider here.
There is.
We've gone over Patel's background, his rise to power,
Huh?
his controversial statements, the fears surrounding his potential leadership of the FBI.
Right. But there's one more piece of the puzzle.
What's that?
What happens if he actually gets access to the FBI's files?
Oh, wow.
He's been a big proponent of declassifying information.
Right, especially anything he thinks will expose the deep state.
Exactly. Imagine what he could do with the FBI's files.
Scary thought.
It's a potential powder keg.
Yeah.
He could selectively release information
Just smear his opponents.
to fuel conspiracy theories.
To obstruct ongoing investigations.
All of the above.
And it's not just about political scandals, right?
No.
The FBI investigates so much more than that.
Organized crime, terrorism, foreign espionage.
The potential for misuse of that information is huge.
It is.
And it's not just about past events. He could use that access to target his perceived enemies in the present, too.
Absolutely. It raises a whole host of ethical and legal questions.
Yeah, where does national security end and political persecution begin?
It's a slippery slope.
Definitely. And one that we need to be very careful about navigating.
I agree.
We need to be vigilant, hold our leaders accountable,
Absolutely.
and make sure the FBI remains an institution dedicated to justice,
Right.
not to the whims of any one politician.
That's the key.
Man, it's a lot to process, isn't it?
It really is.
We started with Patel's, pretty average beginnings, and now we're talking about this potential position of immense power.
It's a wild ride.
The implications are huge,
Absolutely.
Really makes you think about the state of our institutions, the balance of power.
It's a story that speaks to some broader trends, I think.
Oh, like what?
This erosion of trust in institutions.
Yeah, I see.
The rise of partisan divisions, the blurring of lines between politics and law enforcement.
In Patel, in a way, embodies all of that.
He does.
He's a product of this hyper-partisan environment.
Yeah.
And his leadership at the FBI could really push those trends in a dangerous direction.
It's a crucial point.
It is.
The FBI director has a huge impact
Oh, yeah,
on everyday Americans.
definitely.
They oversee investigations into, everything.
Yeah, terrorism, financial fraud.
Civil rights violations.
It's not just about politics. It's about people's safety.
Exactly. It's about the security of the nation.
So the question isn't just what will Patel do to Trump's enemies?
Right.
It's also what will he do to protect everyone LSE?
Exactly.
How will his leadership affect the FBI's ability to,
Yeah.
do its job effectively?
To be impartial.
Right.
Will he uphold the FBI's core values?
Fidelity, bravery, integrity.
Right. Or will he use it to advance a political agenda?
Those are the questions we need to be asking.
Big questions.
So
But-
where does all of this leave us?
Well, we've explored Patel's journey.
From public defender to, potentially, the head of the FBI.
It's quite a journey.
He's a complex figure.
He is.
Sharp legal mind.
Huh.
Deeply loyal to Trump.
Right.
Believes in this deep state conspiracy.
Yeah.
Willing to challenge the status quo.
And his potential appointment
Yeah.
raises some really profound questions about the future of law enforcement in America.
Will the FBI remain independent?
A force for justice.
Or will it become a tool of political power?
That's the big question.
This deep dive has definitely given us a lot to think about.
It has.
What stands out to you?
The key takeaway for me
Yeah.
is that the FBI is at a crossroads.
Yeah.
Patel's nomination is a choice.
A choice about what?
What kind of institution we want the FBI to be.
An agency that operates independently.
Guided by facts and evidence.
Or one that's, beholden to political interests.
That's the choice.
And ultimately, that's a question that you, the listener, will have to answer.
It's important to stay informed.
To understand all sides.
To form your own conclusions.
Exactly.
Read Patel's book, Government Gangsters.
Yeah, check it out.
Follow the news, engage in thoughtful discussions.
Right.
And most importantly,
Make your voice heard.
the stakes are high.
The future of the FBI.
Maybe even the future of American democracy. Depends on it.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Appreciate it.
Until next time, keep asking those tough questions and dive deep into the information that matters.